In the next 10 minutes, you'll learn 3 levels of pause moments you can use in your classroom starting on Monday, from a 10-second micro reset to a 1-minute group routine and a student-designed pause, so you're not carrying the same dysregulated energy from bell to bell and class to class. Welcome to the Voice of the Student podcast, where real student stories meet the science of well-being, energy, and learning. I'm Dr. Kelley Spence, a well-being specialist, education advocate, and author of The Voice of the Student, here to help reimagine education so that teachers are better resourced, students are truly seen, and classrooms become places where both can thrive. This space is dedicated to you, the hardworking teacher and educator, offering grounded, science-backed, energetically aware strategies to support your well-being so your classroom can better meet and exceed the needs of your unique 21st century students. So take a breath, settle in, and let's explore how caring for your nervous system, your intention, and your energy is one of the most powerful ways to transform education from the inside out. Everything in this movement to reimagine education for both teachers and students rests on a simple truth. When we regulate the adult nervous system first, we create the conditions for adolescent brains to feel safe enough to learn, take risks, and engage more fully in the education experience. When your body is grounded and your energy is intentional, you can design a classroom that works with, not against, the teenage brain. So well-being and learning rise together. You've heard me talk about the adolescent brain, the prefrontal cortex, and stress in earlier episodes. We've named that chronic stress can literally hijack the parts of the brain responsible for focus, memory, and decision-making. But now we're going to zoom in on this. Your day is full of tiny choice points where you can either let that stress accumulate or gently release it. Pause moments are not another initiative. They're simply intentional interruptions of your autopilot. They create a little bit of space for the adult nervous system and the adolescent nervous system to come down one notch, reconnect with the body, and then re-enter learning from a different place. So in this episode, I want to give you something new. 3 levels of pause moments you can use this week. 1 just for you, 1 for the whole class, and 1 you can co-design with students. You can think of them as a menu, not a mandate. So level 1 is the pause nobody even sees, the 10-second micro reset you take before you respond. In episode 16, we talked about burnout and how your body carries one class into the next. In episode 18, we talked about intuition. So here we're going even smaller, into what you can do in the exact moment you feel your system spike. Imagine you sense the room starting to spin out, side conversation, someone rolling their eyes, an email notification popping up on your screen. Before you correct anything, you want to silently take 10 seconds for yourself. You might try pressing your feet firmly into the ground and feel the support underneath you, or lengthen your exhale just a little, even if it's just for 1 or 2 breaths. Or place one hand lightly on your chest or your ribs if that feels comfortable and think, I can take a breath before I decide what to do next. Or you can tap the fingers of one hand on the forearm of the opposite arm while taking just a couple cleansing breaths. No one else needs to know you're doing this, but those 10 seconds allow your nervous system to re-engage your prefrontal cortex, so your next move comes from leadership and conscious awareness, not from reactivity. This is a pause moment that's personal and lives inside you, not a rehearsed, meaningless script. Level 2 is a 1-minute class reset. This is the one most of us picture, a short, guided pause along with your students. You may have experimented with this already, and maybe you've used the box breath breathing or a grounding question, but today I want to add 2 fresh layers of choice and clarity. So let's start with the basic structure of a 1-minute reset. Step 1 is name what's happening. So you can use one simple line like, let's take a 1-minute pause to reset our brains and bodies before we keep going. This normalizes the pause as part of learning, not a punishment or a timeout. Then step 2, you're going to offer 2 regulation options. Here's where we go beyond what we've already talked about in the adolescent brain episode. You're going to offer choice because not every nervous system responds the same way to the same practice. So you might say, okay, option A is to breathe. Keep your eyes open or closed, whatever feels safest. Inhale slowly through your nose, preferably deeply down into your belly, like you're blowing up a balloon. And then exhale slowly through your mouth, like you're letting the air out of the balloon. No holds, just gentle in and out breath cycle. Or option B, you're going to ground through the senses. Have them look around and quietly notice 3 things you can see, 3 things you can hear, and move 3 parts of your body: fingers, shoulders, toes, head, neck. Give them about 30 to 45 seconds. You might set a soft timer or simply count a few slow breaths in your own mind. And then step 3, you want a tiny reflection. So when you finish, invite a quick, non-verbal check-in. Something like, show me with your fingers 1 to 5. Did that pause help you feel the same, a little better, or a lot better? This isn't a quiz, it's data for you and for them. Over time, you'll start seeing patterns, certain classes, times of day, or routines where a 1-minute pause has the biggest impact. Notice what's new here. You're not just doing breathing, you're teaching students to choose a regulation strategy and to notice its impact. That's emotional intelligence and self-awareness in real time. And it's something we build more deeply in the Engage Classroom online course when we layer these practices into your openings, transitions, and closures. Then we're going to move on to level 3. This is your student design pause moments. So level 3 is where it gets really interesting, and this is something we haven't explored yet on the podcast. You invite students to help design the pause moments they actually want and will use. So choose one class and say something like, listen, we all feel the stress in this room sometimes, me included. I want us to have a 60-second reset we can use when we need it. What would help you come down 1 notch without making things worse? Have them brainstorm in pairs or small groups, and you might hear ideas like short stretches at or next to their desks, a quiet heads-down moment with soft music or movement breaks, or focusing on an image like a plant, poster, or something outside the window for 30 seconds, or even a simple phrase that helps them reset, 1 class at a time, or I can start again right now, or perfectly imperfect, or if I knew what to do next, what would that be? Capture their ideas and co-create a class pause menu with 3 or 4 options. Then agree on when you'll use it, before tests, after lunch, when noise spikes, or when you notice the class energy crashing. This is where the pause moment stops being your tool and becomes our tool. And from a brain and behavior perspective, that matters. When students help design the regulation routines, they're more invested, less resistant, and more likely to use these strategies outside your room as well. In the Engage Classroom online course, this kind of co-creation sits right alongside co-created expectations, student feedback loops on engagement, and simple well-being routines. So pause moments aren't an isolated strategy. They're part of a larger culture of shared responsibility for how the classroom feels and what type of energy they're bringing into it. So before we close, I want to name something important. Pause moments are not a performance. They're not about being the perfect calm teacher with the perfectly calm class. They're about being honest about stress and offering one small, concrete way to respond to it. To keep this sustainable, you might start with just 1 class period or 1 time a day where you already feel the tension build. Or pair a pause moment with a routine you already have, a warm-up, a transition, or the minute right before dismissal. And give yourself permission to skip or adapt a pause on days when it doesn't feel safe, necessary, or aligned. Your nervous system gets a say too. And if you notice that your pause moments are bringing up big emotions for certain students, that's information, important information. You can quietly offer alternatives or invite them to keep their eyes open, focus on the sensory option, or simply sit quietly without participating. Regulation tools should always feel optional and supportive, never forced. As you think about your own classroom, I want to leave you with a simple reflection. What's one specific moment in your day when you and your students could benefit from a 60-second pause? And which level of pause, your micropause, a class reset, or a student design pause, are you willing to experiment with this week? If you feel comfortable, share your pause moment and which level you're going to try in the comments below. Your idea might give another teacher exactly the experiment they need. Thank you for spending this time with the voice of the student. Here, teacher well-being is not an afterthought, it's the foundation. When the adult nervous system is grounded, classrooms become safer, more human spaces where the adolescent brain can finally exhale, engage, and thrive. If this episode on pause moments sparked ideas for your classroom, notice how different pieces of the season connect. The intuition, intention, and imagination episodes, our conversations about the adolescent brain, and now these concrete nervous system resets. In my foundational self-paced course, The Engage Classroom, All of these threads come together into a simple, practical framework for designing your environment, routines, expectations, and well-being practices so they're working in the same direction, not competing with each other. If this episode supported you, please like, subscribe, and follow The Voice of the Student and share it with one teacher friend. Together we can elevate the teacher-student experience, one nervous system, one class, one student, one teacher, one school at a time. Your energy, your intention, and your voice matter more than you know. Listen, innovate, educate. Thanks for listening, for all that you do. Until next time on The Voice of the Student.